Let us not dawdle, for there are grudges to settle, and new entries in the Dammer's Cron to right!
Howdy, howdy, Sudovla here, and welcome to another game featuring the Dwarfs versus the Dark Elves, being generaled by eumaies, the dwarf who literally wrote the book on dwarf multiplayer play, and has an amazing guide online. I will link it in the description so that you can all go see it. And now with these big changes to Rune of Wrath and Rune, a lot of dwarf builds are going to change, and I've already changed my builds to try to adjust, and so has eumaies. Now, for this build versus the Dark Elves, it's going to start fast because there are units right in range. We have, I believe, 3 Longbeards, 1, 2, 3, and 3 Dwarf Warriors with great weapons to the front for some of that armor-piercing support. We do have the Ekran Miners, they have 3 blasting charges, so they're quite strong. And for his ranged force, we have 2 Thunders, which are there for that armor-piercing support, 2 Rangers right in that midline. Now, Rangers have a lot more armor-piercing. They do a lot more damage to things with armor now. And, of course, he has 2 cannons in the back. And eumaies does love to do this, have these little sort of side pressure engagements where you can sort of get pressure on the side, and he has 2 Rangers here with 1 Bugman Ranger, and he has the Ulthor's Raiders, all supported by the Gyrocopter with Brimstone's gun. So the idea is usually you don't expect to be seen right away by Harpies that are Vanguard deployed, is to sort of let your enemy come in towards you because you're pressuring with the cannon, so he has to. And then you can sort of make that nice flanking maneuver on this side, very fully supported, and just about in range of your Thunders, where you have these Gyrocopters Brimstone guns. Very interesting army here from the Dark Elves. He has 2 units of Harpies. Harpies are very good against the Dowie. They're difficult to deal with in the back line when they dive. He also has 2 Vanguard deployed Dark Riders with shields, way in the back corner. For his main line, very different than what you normally see. He has 3 Sisters of Slaughter, I think, and 3 Witch Elves. So Sisters of Slaughter, Witch Elves, Bleak Swords, and 2 Bleak Swords and 1 Harganeth Executioners. Witch Elves, Sisters of Slaughter, and there's that Harganeth Executioner. He does have a chariot hidden. So he has 1 Cold One Chariot hidden here, and that's armor-piercing, anti-infantry, very, very good against the Dowie. And he has Morathi up in the air. So Morathi can be really good against the Dowie because obviously she does have Soul Sealer and Soul Blight for the minus 30 armor. So this is the idea of this build is the Witch Elves don't have armor piercing, nor do Bleak Swords or Sisters of Slaughter. The Sisters of Slaughter, where are they? You can see they have good stats, but they don't have armor piercing. He does have the Harganeth Executioners, but that ability, Soul Blight, minus 30 armor, minus 25% weapon damage is going to allow those units to go to town. He also has Heartrender, which is an aura around a Morathi, which is 18 stat points, which is huge, 40-meter radius. Also has Enchanting Beauty, so when she is in... Heartrender, she must be in melee for the minus 18 stat points, and Enchanting Beauty is always active. Minus 8 charge bonus, minus 9 melee attack. That's 27 stat points. That is massive in a 40-meter radius when she's fighting. She does have greater Arcane Conduit for improved power recharge rate and power reserves. She has a Spiteful Conjuration, so every time she casts a spell, it's minus 15 armor to all the Dowie, which is really going to help his lineup, and Life Leashing for the improved power recharge rate. So we're going to get things going right away. I wanted to kind of go pretty slowly because you can see how fast eumaies is going to give orders. There he goes. He's giving orders to everyone. Get in there. Get those Harpies. eumaies knows how devastating Harpies can be. He's got the Gyrocopters going up. He's got all his Rangers shooting, and he is going to bring his Ulthor's Raider. You can see he's bringing his Ulthor's Raiders up to support, and he's got both his cannons going at these Harpies right away. So he's going to get a ton of damage in immediately to try and get these Harpies off the field. The Dark Elf player is just essentially starting. So really, eumaies is going to come and he's going to try and apply that pressure really quickly right away. And he's got a ton of damage to those Harpies. Basically picked them off. He sees these guys coming. Now I'm just going to slow this down. So you can see he's actually going to take his Thunders and try and support into this side, along with these Dwarf Warriors to support into this side, because there's this side of the engagement is going to take a little while. So eumaies really wants to win this pocket. So he's gone in to shoot the Sisters of Slaughter with his gyrocopter, and he's going to get his Bugman's Rangers and his regular Rangers to shoot in, and he's going to bring over some armor-piercing support for those Harganeth Executioners. The issue is going to be is these guys are really fast. Sisters of Slaughter's 44 speed, and these Witch Elves have been rerouted to come in, and he still has not seen the Cold One Chariot. That is hidden. So I'm just going to let this go. He's going to try and get some shots into those Sisters of Slaughter, get as much damage as he can get into them as quickly as possible, and bang, he sees, okay, this is not good. These guys are going to get there too fast. I need to get away, because these guys are coming in, and he's bringing in his Dwarf Warriors to try and intercept. He's bringing in his armor piercing to try and intercept, and he's just trying to slow down these Sisters of Slaughter. Still has not seen this Cold One Chariot. So this is a really intense bit of gameplay, because these Witch Elves are coming in really, really fast, and these Harganeth Executioners are not quick, but he resets the Harganeth Executioners to go against the Gyrocopters with the Brimstone Gun. That is disastrous, because those Gyrocopters can handle the Sisters of Slaughter with their 100 armor, but they cannot handle the Harganeth Executioners, and these Witch Elves have now gotten into the back and are going to be pushing everything off, and the Dwarf Warriors are still trying to come around here as well as the Thunders, and he's actually got his cannons into the Harganeth Executioners because he's really trying to get those guys. Now the Cold One Chariot is coming. This is really a game changer for this lineup. Plus his Gyrocopters are getting beat up. Plus these Dark Riders are now finally getting really close. This side of the line has just started engaging. You know, these Witch Elves are going to do flying against the Longbeard, but the Lord is going to do some damage here. These Bleak Swords are going to come up, and the Longbeards will beat the crap out of them here. But now these Bleak Swords got a giant gap. They're going to come in. These Witch Elves are going to be able to come in and beat up the Ekron's Miners. And he has one extra unit of Sisters of Slaughter. So this whole side is absolutely in real danger. So eumaies is taking all of his resources. He wants to finish these guys off. He's got Mark by Ulthar on the Harganeth Executioners. So he wants to get everything going here. The Sisters of Slaughter have caused these Ulthar's Raiders to rampage, which is the worst thing possible. He's rerouted the Dwarf Warriors into here, and he's still bringing his Thunders out here because he wants to get shots in. Marathi's coming over to support, and the Cold One Chariot's coming over to support, and Marathi's coming in onto these Gyrocopters with Brimstone Guns, and is going to get... This is an engagement the Gyrocopters absolutely do not want. He's got the Dark Elf players got a rear charge into the cannon, and here comes another rear charge into the cannon. And really, this is just the game: charge, charge, get out, recharge, get out, recharge. That's all this game's going to be back here. And these cannons are in real trouble. You can see this has started. The Lord is actually chasing after the Witch Elves here. He is going to see that at some point and bring them back. He's going to try and rear charge with the Longbeards into these guys, but these Harpies have gotten right into the middle of the formation, and now the Dark Riders are going to be able to get into the middle of that formation as well and start charging into there. On this side where eumaies has to win, now he's put a ton of resources into there. He's taking shots on the side with the Thunders onto these Harganeth Executioners. His Bugman's Rangers are being beat down by the Harganeth Executioners. Sisters of Slaughter are winning against the Dwarf Warriors with great weapon. Marathi is flying around and taking out these guys, and we've got over here the Dark Riders with shields are coming back. Now in comes the Cold One Chariot. It's delayed just long enough, and this is going to be absolutely devastating. This Cold One Chariot, there's not enough resources to actually deal with this Cold One Chariot anymore, and you're going to see it's just going to ride through all the Dowie troops. Like, there's nothing that can stop this over here. We've got two troops routing. We got these Thunders shooting against the Harganeth Executioners. They're going to be attacked by the Harpies. Now, eumaies knows what he's doing. He's trying to get all the right units on all the right targets, but now he's just simply run out. Everything is starting to rout. Marathi's coming in here. The Chariots are coming in here. The Thunders are in real trouble against the Harganeth Executioners. Meanwhile, the Dark Riders and the Harpies have gotten right into the back line, have been able to rout this cannon, and are getting into the Thunders over here. In come the Witch Elves again. Now the Lord is chased for a while. His Lord's going to come back. He's going to try and get back, but really you can see how this pocket is completely compromised. There is nothing here that's sort of winning the fight, and there's nothing over here that's winning the fight. So everything is absolutely collapsed. Now, He did not chase this gyrocopter with brimstone guns off, and he did not chase the Altar's Raiders off. Huge mistake, I think, for the Dark Elf player. But, you know, he's going around and he's trying to take out everything. He's trying to take out the Thunders and try and get everything routing, and then you're going to try and come clean up later. Meanwhile, eumaies is trying to get after this chariot, because this chariot is just going to rear charge and start knocking everything out. So there he goes with the Thunders. Then you can see this chariot is just going to start plowing through the entire Dowie line, and the Lord is still a ways out. He is getting some blasting charges with the Ekron's Miners into these Witch Elves, which is doing some work, but these Ekron's Miners got beat down by the Witch Elves in the initial engagement. These Dark One Riders have finished off now both cannons, and now they're just going right into the Rangers. These Longbeards are overloaded, and in comes the Cold One Chariot to really, you can see that Cold One Chariot's now just going to start pulling through and pulling around to finding Dowie units. The Harpies are trying to chase down the Gyrocopter along with Morathi, but the Gyrocopter is faster than the Harpy, so the Gyrocopter can juke the Harpies is too fast. In comes a big Soul Blight for that minus 30 armor, minus 25% weapon damage. That's going to help the Witch Elves and the Bleak Swords a lot. This whole side has been compromised, but here you see the Dowie leadership. All this line, which looked absolutely terrible, the Thunders are still fighting the Dark Riders, and all these Dowie units have come back. So now it's time. So eumaies has got, okay, this has gone bad, it's all gone terribly. Time to get your troops together. So he's going to bring these guys up, and he's going to try and hold this pocket and create a new Dowie force right in here. These Thunders are still fighting. The Gyrocopter has managed to be left alone, and now the Gyrocopter is shooting in here, which is really, really good. So the Gyrocopter is still getting some damage in. In come the Harpies to try and get the Gyrocopter. Here's a beautiful move, like, boom, there goes the bombs. Boom, there goes the bombs. eumaies like, okay, if you're going to chase me away, I'm going to bomb your troops. Really beautiful move. In comes the Lord, and you can see eumaies is trying to walk everything in. Try to get everything into this pocket to reconsolidate his troops. He's getting chased down by the Harpies. Again, the Harpies are not fast enough to catch the Gyrocopters. You know, they're just, if they can get their charge animation, they can, but he's just trying to get away. Beautiful move. He walks them right into what range he has, and these guys cannot stand up to range because they only have 15 armor. You can see they are routing, and you can see eumaies is going to like, okay, now I'm going to chase these guys off with my Gyrocopters. I'm not going to make the same mistake that was made to me where I let these Gyrocopters live. And everything is starting to actually come in. And these Thunders over here still fighting. They just routed now with 2 Dark Riders. This is absolutely amazing that these guys held out for so long. Now he's like, okay, I'm gonna chase these guys out. And then his Gyrocopter routes right here. I don't know what exactly happened. You know, I look at that Gyrocopter and damage sustained, and unfortunately the Gyrocopter routes and the freaking Harpies rally. This is absolutely disastrous, because the Gyrocopters were going to take these guys out, and then they could go after Morathi, or at least kite her a little bit. But, you know, and we still got these Cold One Chariots, but the Dowie have finally kind of gotten pretty much together. Almost all the Dowie troops are here. Morathi is desperately trying to take out the Rangers, because she knows that's what's going to kill everything over here. Is he's got marked by Ulthar and these Dark Riders, and he's trying to actually, you can see, he's going to change his targets. He wants the Ulthar's Raiders on Morathi, and he's going to want his Rangers over on these Dark Riders, and on like the things with no armor. So these Dark Riders just route. They just route for no reason. Maybe they got one shot in, and in comes the Rangers, and he's going to try and get onto these Harpies. The Chariots come in, and you can see the Lord actually has been able to stop this chariot with the Longbeards in here. Like the Longbeard's mass and the Lord's mass has made a difference. The Chariots, he stopped the Chariots, and they stopped dead, and they got some damage on that Chariots, and that was really, really bad for this Cold One Chariot. He came in, he stopped, he didn't see it, so now he's trying to get that Chariot out. Meanwhile, the Dark Elves are trying to make sure the Thunder is route, trying to make sure everything's going off the battlefield. He does have some Witch Elves over here. He is going to try and bring them back. eumaies is going to see that. He's like, okay, I just got free shots under those 8 Witch Elves. He's going to actually give a command to come after the Witch Elves. But he's got his troops. They are consolidated. He can't really chase after anything. And you can see Morathi is just making sure things get... Finally, Morathi is really just making sure these Rangers are off the field. He's making sure these guys are off the field here. And now it's time to bring his troops in. He has Morathi, and now he has his Chariot here. And he actually has these Witch Elves. You can see he was going to send the Rangers after the Witch Elves, but the Dark Elf player said, okay, that's a bad idea, so I'm just going to park these Witch Elves in the forest and bring them back when I need. So he does have a full surround, but I mean, you got to get in there somehow. Now, eumaies is going to look, and he's like, uh-oh. You can see he sees Morathi coming. He's like, I gotta take all my units and get them a little bit out in case she has a big Soul Stealer, because he doesn't want that Soul Stealer to land on everything. But he does have the chariots way out here. He has Morathi, and he's bringing here. But these guys have shattered just like that. And in comes a Soul Stealer. Like, I think it's a little bit early. It's on the Rangers and on the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, but casts a Soul Stealer, still has the Harpies, and unfortunately these guys are shattered for the Dark Elves. These Dark Riders did rout, but they're now rallying. He's coming in here to try and pick off the Rangers. That's who he wants to get, because he's worried about his Harpies, and he just wants to get rid of these Rangers and get rid of these Ulthar's Raiders, and then he can sort of come in freely and sort of get the job done. But he's really done it a little bit, not all at the same time. So in come the Harpies, boom, they get shot once, they are routing. And these Dark Riders, they now just shatter, just like that. In comes Morathi. She's just going to try and find targets, and finally he's bringing in his Cold One Chariot, and he's trying to bring in his Witch Elves here. But really, he just wants to find the target. There he is. He's going to go after these Rangers. He's going to try and get this Cold One Chariot after the troops here. And you see the Cold One Chariot has 982 health left. Boom, he's going to ride right through the Ulthar's Raiders, right through the Longbeards, and he just misses that Lord so he can keep running. He does have marked by Ulthar, but the Ulthar's Raiders are now gone. He's going right down the line of these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons and just plow right through them. He's still at 982 health. Morathi has been able to rout these Rangers in here. Like, this is really, really tight. The Witch Elves are trying to come in, but in comes the Lord, and he's just going to beat the crap out of the Witch Elves, and he's going to rear charge them with the Longbeards, bring these other Longbeards. These Witch Elves just do not have enough, and they shatter. In comes the Harpies. They want to get some action. They're going to try and find a spot to fight. Morathi's in here fighting. This guy still has 982 health. He's just running over everything. Chariots are really, really hard to stop. In comes the Chariots over here. They're just going to ride through. All he's got to do is keep his Chariots away from the Lord. Really, that's all he's got to do. Now there's nothing to shoot that Chariot. Morathi's in here fighting against the Longbeards and got these Dwarf Warriors with great weapons to rout. The Harpies have shattered, unfortunately for the Dark Elves, but this Chariot is still in good shape. So he's going to bring the Chariot. He's trying to just juke with the Chariot and find a way to get through this blob, because he knows the Lord can stop him, so he's trying to get away through this blob. Morathi's in here fighting. Has been able to break the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, and now is fighting 3 Longbeards and the Lord. Now, Morathi cannot stay in here. This is a bad idea for her to stay in here. The Chariot's coming through, and the Chariot stops right here. He needs to turn around, because you can see eumaies has taken all his troops, and he's getting in there, and he has actually caused the Cold One Chariot to rampage, and this is horrible for the Chariot. At the same time, Morathi's going to try and get after these Rangers that have rallied, but this Chariot's in deep trouble, and it actually breaks, and you can see now the Chariot's going to pull away. It's down to 374 health, and it's going to break and start moving off the field, which is huge for the Dowie. Really, we have 5 models of Longbeards here. They're going to rally. These Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. The Dark Elf players are like, okay, I'm going to make absolutely sure these guys are off the field. There's nothing the Dwarfs can do here. So actually, eumaies does something incredibly smart. He's going to get these guys together, and he's just going to sit there. He's nothing he can do, so he's going to try and start. They're all exhausted. All of them are exhausted from fighting. He's going to try and at least get their health, their vigor back up. So in comes the Dark Elf player. He has to go over and get near that Cold One Chariot and try and rally it. Like, there's no way Morathi's going to beat this Lord one-on-one, I don't think. I mean, he's going to try and get after the Longbeards. Boom. Longbeards into there, just beating them down. I think he realized, like, everything else shattered, but this Cold One Chariot is only at minus 10 leadership. Really, he just needs to get over there. Minus 10 leadership. So he's actually going to get over there, move towards this Cold One Chariot. eumaies is like, okay, nothing I can do. I'm just going to wait. I'll wait and try and go from exhausted. Everything's exhausted here. Meanwhile, he's trying to get Morathi. Morathi's very fast. She has 105 speed, but she is exhausted. This Chariot has 66 speed, but is also exhausted. But here is the white line. You can see those Harpies are just going after the white line. So he's trying to catch this Cold One Chariot with Morathi. Like, just, okay, if he can get that Cold One Chariot. Like, the Cold One Chariot can't get shot. There's no range left here. He has been able to get rid of all the Dowie range, and with a chariot, if you avoid the Lord, you could just plow through Dowie infantry. So he can tie down the Lord with Marathi, and especially if he has a Soul Stealer left, he can heal her right up, so he's not really worried about that. He just got to rally this Cold One chariot. It's back up to -7 leadership. It just has to get over that part, and it can come back. He can take his time. He's in no rush. If that Cold One chariot can just rally. So he's got it right to the edge of the map, and he must be encouraging it. Like, he's got to be encouraged by a nearby unit. Flank secure, Lord nearby, +3. Exhaustion -6, and then boom. Gone. Doesn't rally. So now, without units on the ground, the enemy force is forced to land an attack or surrender its territory. So now, he has to hustle back here. His leadership is at 78. 77, 76, 75, so it's just going down. So he actually has to get all the way back to eumaies. You can see eumaies has just been sitting here waiting. These guys are winded. So now you can see they've come up from exhaustion. You're going to see, I'm just going to let Marathi come. Marathi just has to come here and attack, or she's going to run out of leadership and just... she's going to run out of leadership, and she's down to 63 now, 62. She's going to run out of leadership and go. These guys are now winded. They're going to start getting up to active. You can see green. There he is. He's now active, and you can see the green legs. They're going to be active, so Marathi's coming back to fight. Now, the thing Marathi is going to have a real hard time beating is that Lord. Now, if she can get rid of everything else, maybe she can do all right. Because the Lord, then she can cycle charge the Lord, even though you can see she's in there. So she comes after these guys. Boom, she wants to get a big charge in. So eumaies like, okay, I got to get in there. I got to fight. And in comes the Soul Stealer. He tried to get out of the way. He saw it being cast. But now everyone's got the Soul Stealer, and Marathi's going to heal for a ton. So he's like, all right, we're going to get back in, and time to fight, boys. These Longbeards have one model left. 2 hit points, and they're still fighting. 19 leadership. This is absolutely amazing, and it's, plus they're active. Like, had eumaies not done that, these guys would have broken, like, for sure. But now they're active. They don't have that penalty for being exhausted. So Marathi's gonna kind of go up, come back down, just try to cycle charge her way to victory. But Longbeards have quite a bit of mass. They have 200 mass per unit, and now the Lord has an extra 200 mass. I think they're at 1100 now. So she's just not big enough to plow her way through. And you can see eumaies is actually going to try, and you can see he's moving his characters around a little bit. You see he moves these guys. He's just trying to get the attack, but he's going to try and actually keep Dowie behind her. Well, you can't really see it. Like, he's actually going to try and keep things behind Marathi so she can't get out of the way. Everyone is wavering here. She's got Soul Blight, -30 armor, so that she can do a little bit more damage. And that -25% weapon damage is really to get after the Lord, but the Lord is really starting to get some shots in on Marathi now. And she's right there. You're going to see he's going to actually come in behind her again, I think, and to try and stop her, but she's just trying to fight to the death. I think if she can get a route on here, she might be able to get a chain route. There he goes. He's going to get these Longbeards. He's like, I'm just going to get them around, get them behind Marathi. Now she can't escape, and I'll get a sort of a rear charge, and Marathi now is being attacked in the rear, and this Dwarf Lord is starting to really get some shots in. Even though he doesn't have a bonus versus large, she doesn't have a whole lot of armor, and he's putting an absolute beating on Marathi. You can see Marathi starting to waver, and there she goes. And that is the battle. Awesome fight from eumaies. And, everyone's going to be figuring out builds with all the changes that have gone on. Like, this has been the single biggest patch for changing the meta or the builds or anything ever dropped, because now there is unit limits on how many units you can get. There's no more 9 model armies. The famous three Mortis engine builds, and the big changes with the Rune and Wrath and Rune. Like the old build, you bring a Rune Lord and a 2 Rune Smith or a 1 Rune Smith. You put a double Rune and Wrath and Rune, and you delete the Harganeth Executioners with a little support. And you put a ton of pressure on these Witch Elves. But look at what the infantry did here. Like 205 kills with Marathi. Okay, She's very, very good. She's cycle charged excellent. Like the player here did a fantastic job of using Marathi. 20 and 36 with the Bleak Swords isn't too bad. They're not a great unit, but that's an okay kill count for them. But 161, 140 with the Witch Elves. Like, eumaies could not focus on the Witch Elves at all. He had some focus, but really not a lot. Like, they just dominated. Really, really good. For an 800 gold unit, very good. He did focus on these three. Like, he put all his resources, cannons, Rangers, Althar's Raiders, Gyrocopter into the Sisters of Slaughter, and this Harganeth Executioners. They got 41 and 39. On the other side, he focused these Sisters of Slaughter, and they still got 58. 71 for the Dark Riders with shields. I think these guys are only 600 gold. That's really, really good. 40 for these guys, and they took out both cannons. 96 for that Cold One Chariot. Really, that big mistake. He let his chariot sit in combat for just a little bit too long, and then it rampaged, and he didn't go and try and save it right away. And, you know, maybe he could have, maybe he couldn't have, I don't know. But for the Harpies, this one set of Harpies got 0. Really, it was deleted immediately. And the other group of Harpies got 44. eumaies build 18 for the Lord, but you saw, you know, the Lord got some buffs too. Got an extra 30 charge bonus, and some stats, some mass, some knockdown resist. His Lord was pretty reliable when he was able to get him on something. 15, 49, 16 for the Dwarf Warriors with great weapons. Only 14 for the Ekron Miners. Like, this is... Ekron Miners are actually pretty good, and I know there's a lot of you guys watch the channel that love Ekron Miners and blasting charges and know how powerful they can be. But they got like, I didn't show it in the fight, but they actually got run down by Sisters of Slaughter, I think, and they only got off a half a blasting charge. Like it you know, and it's because eumaies' line was caught by that chariot. Like, all his micro was over on his right flank, and he couldn't actually get his Ekron Miners into an excellent firing position, and essentially just had to use them like another unit. But only 14 kills, 99, 103, and 37 with the Longbeards. All three of them were left at the end of the game, end of the fight. Longbeards are amazing. They've always been amazing, and they're still amazing. 26, 44, 53, and 51 with 31 with the Rangers. Decent job for them. 21 and 70. These Thunderers got, did really, really good. Only 11 with the Althar's Raiders. Now, they were focused. They were routed early. Only 16 of these Bugman's Rangers. And this was actually, had eumaies been able to get these Bugman's Rangers clear and rallied, they could have healed back up and had a really big impact. But the Dark Elf player did a good job of getting rid of the Bugman's Rangers. 6 kills with the Gyrocopter, but it still did pretty good. You know, you could see, like, even with Harpies, like, eumaies did a good job of running that Gyrocopter around. Really, what caught him was he charged into the Sisters to slow them down, and the Dark Elf player reacted by putting the Harganeth Executioners in there, and I guarantee eumaies' micro was somewhere else, so he saw, okay, I'm just going to charge in, slow these down, and try and get my other troops doing something, maybe even on the left flank or whatever. And when he came back, probably when he came back and saw his gyros were being beat up by Harganeth Executioners, like, oh crap, and it was too late. And Marathi came in, but Marathi didn't route that Gyrocopter off, and it still did a decent job. 29-30 with the cannons. Really nice play with the Dark Riders and being able to get in there. Really, it was just overwhelming. Like, this army is wide. Like, it's a wide army. And this army is actually pretty narrow, but this is where you see the difference mobility can make. Like, these Dark Riders were able to get into the back of the cannons. Harpies are always dangerous, and Marathi was able to sort of get around most of the battlefield. So really, really good fun fight. I would love to hear your comments in down below. You know, what you thought of the build, what you thought of the fight. Have you been playing the Dowie in this new build? You know, where Rune Lords probably aren't the most competitive pick anymore. I think Runesmiths probably are a one of in every build, just to defend against chariots and stuff like that. You replace one of these units in here with a Runesmith, and you can at least sort of control something sometimes. It's not an automatic win. I mean, I saw a battle today where on, I think, Lore Master of Sotek's tabletop tournament, where the dwarf player brought the 2 runes and used it against a beastman and was constantly able to slow things down and delete them, but still lost. I mean, losing that damage has really been a big change for the Dowie, and has really got to change how you build and how you think. And this was a great build, a great fun fight to actually show off the new Dowie. You know, I'm sure eumaies is going to be playing some Dowie and updating his guide, which is going to change quite a bit. You know, like, I feel for him. You know, that guide was on point in every, you know, I'll put a link to his guide. You'll be able to see the old one. He updates it on Google, but that guide was on point, and everything has changed for the Dowie. So he'll have some work, and I'm sure he's going to be trying different builds, and he's going to be in Discord and on the forums and really working on his dwarf builds. So anyways, hope you found that interesting, and I will see you soon.